Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most amazing adventures ever told. We're going to explore this incredible story about a completely unlikely friendship, and, along the way, we're going to learn an absolutely massive lesson about bravery. So, let's get right into the tale of the snail and the whale.
Now, I want you to really think about something for a second. Can someone very, very tiny do something really huge? Have you ever felt too little to help with a big problem? Like, maybe you thought, well, I'm not a grown-up or I'm not the biggest kid in the class, so I can't really make a difference. Well, as we're going to see in today's explainer, being small definitely doesn't mean you can't do enormous, literally world-changing things.
Okay, let's dive into this. In one corner, we have a tiny sea snail. She's got what the story calls an itchy foot, which really just means she's super eager to travel and explore. And in the other corner, a great big gray-blue humpback whale who is just immensely long. I mean, the contrast here is absolutely dramatic. One is literally as small as a pebble, and the other is, well, bigger than a school bus. But despite being so totally different on the outside, they actually share something super important on the inside, a massive love for adventure.
Part 1. A Snail's Big Dream. Leaving the flock on the Black Rock.
So our story kicks off with this tiny snail. She lives with her flock on this smooth rock that's as black as soot. And she'd just slither around looking out at the deep sea and big ships, dreaming of seeing the wide world. But she had a real dilemma. This sea is so incredibly deep and the world is just so wide. And her flock, they didn't get it at all. They just stuck tightly to their rock and told her, "Be quiet, don't wiggle, sit still, stay put." Imagine how tough it is to dream big when everyone around you is basically telling you to just stay in one place. It kind of makes you feel a bit lonely, right?
But she didn't let that stop her. No way. She sighed, she sniffed, and then she cried, "I've got it! I'll hitch a lift!" She actually used her silvery slime to leave this looping, curling trail. She wrote a message for anyone passing by. Lift wanted around the world. She used that tiny silvery trail to bravely and loudly broadcast her little voice to the whole entire universe.
Part 2. Sailing the Wide World, a journey on a whale's tail.
And guess what? Someone very special answered her call. One night, under the bright shining stars, a huge humpback whale arrives. He sings her this wonderful song, holds his tail out of the water and just says, "Come sail with me." And bam, our tiny snail hops right onto his tail. And the things they saw out on the wild, free sea, we're talking towering icebergs, coral caves deep underwater with these hideous, toothy, grinned sharks. They saw shooting stars, fiery mountains, and skies filled with zigzag lightning and really scary thunderstorms. It was a huge, incredible, and sometimes pretty frightening world. And when she looked at all of it, the vast sky, the deep sea, she was just completely amazed. And she whispered, "I feel so small." And honestly, it's completely normal to feel small when the world around you is so huge and wild. It's totally okay to feel a little intimidated.
Now, what's really interesting here is the idea of courage. True courage isn't about being the biggest or the strongest or, actually scratch that. It's definitely not about never feeling scared. Courage is being brave enough to step up and help, even when you feel terribly, terribly small. And our tiny snail, she was about to need a whole lot of courage.
Part 3. The Big Beach Disaster, when the giant gets stuck.
Because one terrible day, the giant whale lost his way. We're getting to a really serious part of the explainer now. Here's exactly how this disaster played out. Minute 1. Noisy speedboats are running a race, zigging and zooming everywhere. Minute 10. That ear-splitting roar completely upsets and confuses our whale. Minute 20. Because he's so confused, he accidentally swims way, way too close to the shore. And by minute 30, the tide slips away, leaving the mighty humpback completely beached on the sand in a bay.
The tiny snail is crying out, "Quick, off the sand, back to sea!" But the massive whale just moans this heartbreaking truth. "I can't move on land. I'm too big." Think about that. He was a giant, but his giant size was completely useless on the beach. He was totally helpless.
Part 4. A very brave rescue, the tiny snail's massive moment.
The snail felt helpless at first. She felt terribly small. But this is it. This is the exact moment where everything changes. This is the moment she decides to step up. "I've got it," she cries, and she starts to crawl, telling herself, "I must not fail." She didn't let her tiny size stop her for a second.
And this brilliantly illustrates how big problems are actually solved. You don't fix everything in one giant leap, right? You do it one smart step at a time. She had a whole action plan. First, crawl all the way to the school in the bay. Second, climb onto the teacher's soot-black chalkboard and write a shiny message. Third, the children see it and fetch the firemen. And finally, together, they dig a pool, squirting and spraying water to keep the poor whale cool while waiting for the tide.
And that shiny message she wrote? Save the whale? That looping, curling, silvery trail on the chalkboard was so powerful. Her tiny voice, quite literally written in slime, rallied a whole entire village into action.
Part 5. Small Snail, Big Courage, Returning Home as a Hero. And her plan totally worked. The tide comes back in, the villager's chair, and the whale and the bravely little snail travel safely away. They head back to the dock and that smooth black rock. And her flock? They can't believe it. They're like, how time's flown and haven't you grown? They share their wonderful tale of ice and stars, and then the best part happens. Her bravery inspires the whole flock. All the other snails finally uncurl, stop sitting still, and slide right onto the whale's tail to go explore the world too.
So the crucial point is this. The tiny, frail snail saved the life of the mighty humpback whale. The biggest creature in the ocean was rescued by literally one of the smallest creatures in the ocean. It proves for sure that you absolutely do not need to be big to make a massive, life-changing difference.
And that leads us with a question just for you. The tiny snail used her brave heart to save a giant whale. So, what big things will your brave heart do today? Remember, it really doesn't matter how small you feel. Your courage and your voice can change the world. Go out there and leave your own silvery trail of courage. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.